Lioness, it's time to rise. Unleash the power deep inside, strong and fierce. You're not alone. Together we'll make our presence known. We're the women ready to roll. Oh yeah. Build the myths, life and sisterhood. Oh yeah. We'll conquer all just like we should. Roar, lioness, show your might. Stand tall, fight the fight. We're the voices of empowerment. Together we'll make the world relax. Lioness.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pride and Purpose podcast, where women learn to roar. That's right. Reinvent themselves, optimize on their potential, affirm their passion, and radiate in their greatness. I'm your host, Lioness Latrice, and today we have an amazing, when I tell you amazing, podcast for you. We are going to be talking about connecting to your inner power and really understanding how to heal yourself through the amazing amount of grief that we have going on in the world today. I would not be able to do this without my lovely lioness, my beautiful client, is Deborah Juniper Frye, who is a grief care consultant, and she is joining us live here today to help us to navigate through these trying times. But before we get to Deborah, we need you to do something. We need you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. That's right, so that you can make sure that you don't miss any episodes of the Pride and Purpose podcast. Make sure you ring that bell, hit that bell so that you won't miss an episode and you'll be able to connect with us all the time. Deborah Frye.
Hello. It's so good to be here with you.
And it is so good to have you here with us today. I am so excited about having you with us today because, Deborah, there's so many things going on in the world today. And I know not just our lovely lioness out there in the audience, but everybody from children, men, women, boys, and girls all over the world. We are watching just chaos around us every day. Mm-hmm. We watch tornadoes. I've never seen that many tornadoes in my life. And then this war. We're watching war all day, every day. I just had a couple of questions to ask of you because it's a trying time. Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure that our lioness are okay. And we know that it's okay not to be okay.
Okay not to be okay.
It is okay, but we need some guidance. And I would not have it any other way than to have you on here to share with us how we can maybe get through this. And how can we tap into our inner power that we have to control these type of things that we're thinking and things of that nature. So I have a few questions for you. But what I would like for you to do when I ask you this first question, if you could please introduce yourself, tell our audience why I called you today and why you are here. But the first questions that I have for you today, Lioness Deborah, is what's the common emotional and psychological impacts of witnessing global grief, such as these natural disasters or war? For all individuals, for all of us, I know we have kids and things of that nature, but I just want to know what are the common emotional and psychological impacts that it is causing us. So if you can introduce yourself, let our audience know why Lioness Latrice called Lioness Deborah for this specific moment, and just share with us what is the impact.
Well, thank you again for having me. Like you say, I am a grief consultant. I have been tagged for this work. It is my purpose and my passion to help the brokenhearted, to help people understand grief, because grief is a dark space. So I've been doing this for a little over 25 years now, and I absolutely love it. The Lord has tagged me for this. So with my business, Grief Care Consulting, it has allowed me to help a lot of people get over the bridge of grief from the devastation back over to some self-care, some hope, some assurance, seeing their glasses half full instead of half empty. So it has been a joy. Some of the things, to get back to the question you asked, seeing so much grief, it puts us in a mindset of grieving worldwide, grieving and having grief for people that we don't know, we've never met. But this kind of grief, the wars, the tornadoes, everything, the tragedies, the trauma, it can put you in a global grief mode where you don't have to know the people, but your inner being, it just creates grief within yourself. And and that so often, every day, all day, is a little bit too much for me. I've always pulled away from social media, from television. Usually, you had to see this stuff or hear about it at the 11 o'clock news, and then the TV went off, and you didn't look at it anymore. Now, Steve, okay, but now you have it on social media. You have it 24/7. You're able to
Everywhere.
get access to all of this trauma, and not to mention that you have to deal with your own trials and trauma. So it becomes a case where you have to intentionally pull back and put a boundary around yourself as to what you can take and what you can't take. Some people can watch this stuff 24/7. Me, you just tell me about it, I don't need to look at it. So we have to find out what our boundaries are, what our safe space is, and also protect your gateways that we have, our eyes and our ears. We can't listen to everything, we can't see and look at everything. So you as an individual need to know how much you can take, how much you can bear, and you have to make a decision for yourself. Grief brings on action words. You have to be intentional. You have to put a boundary around yourself. You have to do something to protect yourself, to protect your space. So be intentional about what you can take in, what you can't take in, and how much of it that you can bear and listen to and see.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of the things that you shared just now. It's so true. It's like we have to know ourselves, how
Yeah.
much we can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times it's just in front of us, and a lot of times we don't even have a say so anymore what we're watching.
Correct.
Because it's just a constant inflow of just chaos and destruction and war, and it's just having it's wearing you down. It
Yeah.
literally wear you down.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I wanted to ask you this as well, in what ways does collective grief manifest in society? And what are the signs that communities are experiencing it?
Well, collective grief can it touches all of us. Here again, we don't even have to know people, and we can become emotional. In the communities, of course, in your community, you may know what is happening with this person or with this thing here or that thing, and it connects you to be a little bit more closer to it because it is within your space per se. So it's within your community space. But here again, to see it on the flip side of it, it gives you the opportunity to do something to better whatever situation is going on within your community. That added trauma, the compound hurt, you're able to do something to make it better by participating in it, by assisting people with it until it's your turn. Because guess what? We will all get a turn around this merry-go-round of grief. So I always employ people to and encourage people to do something that you want to see others do towards you. So help the community, help others, and be a positive part of this dark thing we call grief.
I love it. I love it. You know, one of the things that are going on across the country, what we see as when you're talking about a community, please, please don't cut me off of here on YouTube. Don't shut me down off. But I am enjoying it for different reasons, not because of the cause, but because of the connection. You have all of these college students on every campus, all around the world. They have come together for a cause. And their protests about the war and things of that nature. but like we were talking about, it's a community grief. Because and that's all that, like you just shared, be a part of what's going on with you're a part of the community, sharing in it helps you to relieve it more.
Right.
And as I watch these college students, that's just the way they're taking their grief out. They feel like if they could come together and set up some tents and sleep outside, it makes them feel better about what's going on in the world. Because like you said, we don't even know these kids. We don't know the people. All we know is that they're children and that they're people. And we have that sense of empathy that we want to do something. We can't literally send the food to Gaza. We can't literally send them or what we need to send. We can't send the people who have been through the tornadoes that have ripped over the northeast and the south. I mean, everywhere. We can't send those things to people, but we can, like you said, be a part of a food bank or somewhere that's packing the food or the blankets or whatever to send them, just to ease the things that we have in us going on.
And a lot of times we forget some of the most simple things that we can do. We can pray for this community. Okay, we can donate to this community, things that will still keep you in your comfort zone, but yet it is profound to do these things that will help them tremendously. A lot of times you can be behind the scene. A lot of people want to be seen out in front, but it is in the kitchen. It's behind the scenes where most of the work is generated. Pray and find out a community address and send a letter of encouragement. There are so many things. Do the protest. There are so many things. Like these students have come together and they may not even know one another. They don't have classes with one another, but they have this protest that is unifying them together for one purpose. And that is creating relationships. That's creating long-time friendships. So this is when I see the good that comes out of the grief that people are taking care of. There's always a twinkle of good that can come out of every bit of grief. We just have to be intentional to see it.
I love it. I love it. And in one of your books, there is a chapter called Good Grief.
Good grief.
I love it. And because as you talk and as you share, it's making so much more sense, as when you talk about communities and experiencing that and how, like you said, they may not even be in the same class, but they've come together for this particular reason. And it's a healing for them. They feel like they have done something. Just something. I love it. Another question, a couple more questions for you before we leave. How can individuals balance staying informed about the global events with protecting their mental health from the constant exposure to the grief and tragedy? I mean, we want to stay up to date. We don't want to be really out
right
cold
into it,
and not know what's going on, because you do want to stay abreast of all things that are going on. But how can we do that without getting sucked in?
Google events of the day. Google is your number one best friend. Google events of the day and let it tell you what's going on. You can turn it into prayer, meditation. You can find out how to be involved in it without getting in the middle of it. So there are so many ways that you can look into the community events as well. A lot of times we go so worldwide that we forget that we have stuff happening right in front of our doors and in back of our doors. Take small steps first before you start jumping and leaping and flying all over the place. Look around. Like a song just say, sweep around your own front door before you go somewhere else. But it is very important. I don't say that to belittle it. It is very important. So to keep your boundaries, just find out the things that are happening globally and, just kind of put that on your agenda, but you don't have to bite and eat all of it at one time.
I love it. And one of the things when you said Google it, Google may have one or two pictures in the article, but you're not getting the story, like literally playback after playback of watching the children in the tornadoes and the people
Absolutely.
in their homes, the floods. I can go on. It's so much stuff going on,
So
even in our
much.
communities, the shootings. Lioness Deborah, just every night it's like somebody, it's another, mass shooting in another area. Another one of our police officers are getting shot. It's just like a non-stop thing.
It's a non-stop.
And so one of the things you just shared that was so powerful for me, I'm going to start doing that. Just Googling something, knowing that I'll get the information of the top news and just reading it instead of really focusing on it on the TV.
Right.
That does, because visualizing things can actually hurt more than just reading them.
Yes.
And so if I read them, I can still think of them, but I won't actually see them. So I love that. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
One of my last questions is, what are some ways that leaders and influencers can address and migrate the impact of world grief of their communities or audiences? Like we have a Lioness group, and one of the ways that I feel that I want to help and influence is just keep them abreast of the information. But when we're talking about grief, I don't know if it's the same. What are some of the ways that leaders and influencers can address and migrate the impact of world grief on their communities or audience?
Yeah, they can use their big platforms as means of getting the information out, as means of pulling together as to how they can help in that particular area. And I mean, when I say pull together and collect, it means a structured resource place so that people know that their things are going where they're supposed to go. You can set up some kind of informational workshops for people, and workshops to help them to deal with the grief of it all. A lot of times people do workshops of everything but teaching people how to cope and grieve. I don't see that. That is what God has gifted me with, to come into the workplace, to come into organizations one-on-one, to help people to cope with this, because a lot of times people think grief is supposed to happen and it's going to go away, or I just have to live with it. But you can also learn how to grow in grief and grow with it and get some good out of it. It's hard to find, but it is there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
If you could do me a favor before you leave, could you just share with us the different stages of grief? Some people may think that they're stuck, but a lot of times if we know what we don't know, like the different stages of grief, you can understand that you're just going through a stage. So maybe if you could share with our audience today, what are the different stages of grief?
Yeah, there are so many stages. Okay, you have anger, you have sadness, you have disbelief, you have bargaining. So you and no stage comes in any order. And when you're grieving, grief is here to stay. It is something that it doesn't go away. Grief is 24/7 if you allow it to be. So no stage, you won't get. For instance, you won't get stuck in a stage. I think people think that they're stuck. People think that they just can't go on. Here again, you have to have some intention. You have to have intentional will to get through the process of grief. And being connected to a group of people, being connected to somebody who knows the grief process, somebody, an expert. Being connected to your church body, being connected to a core team, being connected to your friends who will keep a watch over you. It is hard to get stuck and stay there. It's okay to stop, but you should have people around you that can see you, and they know not to let you get stuck or pray. I mean, there are so many different things, different avenues, and I don't say that lightly. I have probably been through every kind of grief and trauma that you can imagine. Grieving over self-shame, grieving over the unexpected, because grief is not just about a coffin and a funeral and chicken coming in the evening. Grief is about everyday occurrences that we have to deal with. There are so many different things that we can do to help ourselves in grief. Yeah, and I just like to teach people that the same way you look at the weather forecast, Look at a grief forecast because it's coming. Read something that is pertaining to grief. If you're sad about losing a job, call somebody, an expert that knows how to help you cope through that. Google is your number one best friend again. It is there. So there are so many different resources and things that you can do to help you.
I love it. And one of the things, and you were sharing how we don't get stuck in one of the stages we literally, you can see yourself going through. One of the things is that I always find that, that first stage is that anger. You're angry because it happened. And one of the things that I love about you is you teach the why. And so you don't get stuck, because we don't understand, and we won't understand when things happen, when they happen. And we tend to blame ourselves, because when you're angry, one of the things that makes you angry is that you're in disbelief, which is another stage, because you can't believe it happened. And you know how we are. If we can't believe something, or we don't have the answer to something, we're angry. It's just like taking a test at school. When you don't know the answer, you get angry.
Exactly.
I want to know the answer.
And then you go into all your woulda, shoulda, couldas. If I woulda, I shoulda. And as Christians, I talk about this all the time. As Christians, with God knowing all things, and He's able to do all things, and we know He's able to do all things, you say, why? It's okay to ask Him why, but He doesn't have to answer. I say in Deuteronomy 29:29, there are some things that God will always keep secret. We'll never know the answer. But what He has given us that we do know, we need to make the best of it, work in it, and move in that power. So we may not have the answer to the why, and we have to be okay with it. Because God is still God.
He's still God, and He has given us, one of the things that you said, we got to understand and believe in what He has given us. And He has given us peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yes.
So we thank God for that. Deborah, I thank you for sharing in this moment with our community, just sharing with them, because it is so many things that are going on. So if you're out there, remember what Lioness Deborah has shared with us. Stay away from that TV for a minute. Just Google it. Okay, just Google it. Get the one line of the words, and just to keep abreast, because we do have to stay abreast of what's going on in the world and in society. But don't just engulf yourself in the things that are going on around you, because it'll tear you apart. It'll be too much. Thank you so much, Lioness Deborah, for coming and sharing with us today. To all my lovely Lioness out there, thank you for joining us. Again, remember to like, share, and subscribe so that we can come to you more often, bringing you this great information to get you through not just your day, but through life. God bless you all, and have an amazing and fantastic day. And remember, Deborah, we got to do this. You got to do it. You know how to do this. You got to be ready to what? Roar.
Lioness, it's time to rise. Unleash the power deep inside. Strong and fierce. You're not alone. Together we'll make our presence known. We're the women ready to roar. Build them, yes, life and sisterhood. We'll conquer all just like we should. Roar, lioness, show your might. Stand tall, fight the fight. We're the voices of empowerment. Together we'll make